Hey everyone, Egman here with another video. And today we have a tier list for the BT17 Meta. This is obviously before the set comes out. It's even the week of the pre-release, so it's not even pre-release yet. So this is obviously highly speculative, but I have been playing a lot of the BT17 Meta as it is, and a lot more of like pre-testing before it comes out than I would say other sets. So it at least gives me some confidence. Maybe that's bad confidence, maybe that's good confidence. But I did want to just talk about my thoughts of the set as a whole, the leaders as a whole, as well as compare it to the kind of leaders that have been taking the past couple events and what's been meta for a while. Compared to that, think what the shifts with the ban list are going to be, as well as some off-meta picks that I'm kind of vying for, and I think have a chance at doing so, doing well. So, going over the tiers, we do have highly competitive. This one is I would expect it to get into every top 16 for the meta and occasionally win. Usually win, I think probably is a better way to say it. So kind of like an S tier. We have competitive, which means it will usually top and as well as get the occasional win. We do have playable, which will sometimes top, and then but I think it'd be quite hard for something like this to actually take a tournament. We have fun, which will maybe get 1 or 2 top 16s in the meta, and then trash, which is if this is just trash. I don't think it's gonna do anything in the meta at all. So those are the tiers for us, and as well. Again, this is before it. I'm going to be a little bit more risky with it, I guess. I'm going to be a little bit more bold with my choices. And I'm okay with being wrong. We're probably going to take a look at this like halfway through the meta, see where I got right, see where I got wrong, and see what the meta actually looks like, and just kind of go from there. But to get us started, we do have the GT leader, and I think this is probably in between competitive and playable for me. We know that red extra card that you use unison base that can do a lot of damage, and there are like a lot of like cute combos you can do with cards from like BT3 and stuff. So and BT4 obviously too. But I think it's just going to be put into playable. I think there's better things for red. Yeah, playable. I think playable. I think it's close to competitive if there's one in between. I don't think people will be. I don't know. I think people will be playing it for sure, and I think it will be tested a lot. But I don't know if it's better than Red U7. I'll be honest. I think Red U7 is just way better, and we'll talk about that deck a little bit more when we get there. Next up, we do have the Machine Mutants, and I think this deck is fun. I think GT is better. Spaceship is just way better for what it does. But this is a really cool deck, and if you have not given it a try and you liked the the Machine Mutant archetype before, I highly recommend trying it out. It is fun. There are some cool combos with it. It is a little clunky at times, which I'd say why it's fun, but there are some cool combos with it, and I'm just going to put it in the fun tier. Next up, we have the Gammas, and I'm gonna put it at least competitive, and I might jump this up to highly competitive. It's super fun. I did some testing with it a couple of weeks ago, and it is the most concrete archetype that I saw. The fact that it is kind of strict for its archetype, though. There are some sequencing, and you kind of get restricted from what you can play in it as well. But in a meta where there's not a lot of blue archetypes, and it's just like this is like one of the best blue archetypes that kind of exists. I might. How bold we feel. I'm gonna put it in highly competitive. You know what? We're gonna put it right there. We're gonna see how wrong I am, but I think people will be playing. Nah. I'm gonna put competitive. I'll be less bold. I think competitive is fine. But it's really strong for what it does. It kind of is like a Red U7 to me, where the deck does only a good couple of things really well, and it just has a really solid game plan. And there's not a lot of divergence necessarily on how you play the deck. There is quite a bit of RNG with it at times too, but you can roll super high with it. And I think people should be playing this. If you haven't tested it out, I think it's the best blue archetype in the set. And then we have the other one. So we have like the Red Ribbon Army. I'm putting in fun. This is like the deck I have the least experience with. I should be testing it this week. And I think fun is maybe highballing it. We'll see. This could probably be the one that changes the most based on it, but I don't think it's good. Based on it seems very clunky. It seems that there's a lot of ways for your opponent to interrupt it and to make you not have a lot of fun. And yeah, I don't think this is a good deck. We'll see. I may change my mind after testing it, but currently I think it's simply okay. Going next, we do have the Meta Cooler, and do I put this boy in trash? Do I put it? I'll put him in fun. I'll put him in fun. It's kind of the same thing. It's these two decks, based on my experience, have done very similar things where they are kind of specific on having the correct things on board, which means that if your opponent can remove them, then you just can't do your things, and that feels really bad. And you know, your opponent being able to interact with what you're doing is what feels bad about a deck like this. And I think it's both these are kind of in the same spot for that. I would say like this is like my second I haven't had a lot of experience with this one compared to this, but I've been playing against people for a whole month and no one has brought Meta Cooler, and I think that should at least say a little something. And even think I'm going to move this up to competitive, and maybe just because based on how bad these have been, I'll bump it up there. People are going to be playing it for sure. I'll give it the bump. If I'm giving Gammas a bump down, I'll get these a bump up. Next up, we do have Cooler, and I think Cooler is competitive. I don't know if he is highly competitive yet, but I think he is a very solid archetype. I think a lot of people will be playing him, and I think he's going to do well. I don't think he's busted. I think he has some good plays, and he's fun to play for sure. But he doesn't have anything that makes me feel like, oh, he's going to be unstoppable, and there's going to be, this is going to be the hard one to play against. And so I'm putting it there, and it could be bumped up or bumped down. Really, it's really on the fence for me if it's going to lean very good or just passable. So I think competitive is a good compromise there, and people are going to be playing it for sure. And I do enjoy the deck, and it's been a lot of fun. Next up, we have the Dripku, and this is the I'm going to put that at highly competitive. I think it is slightly better than Cooler, which is why I'm putting it there. Additionally, maybe I'll reorganize this at the end, but I don't think these are like Gamma is strictly better than Cooler. I don't think this is in any order like that, but Dripku seems like it's the solidest archetype of it all. Like just how much interaction points it has. It's already a yellow deck. Yellow has so many good staples right now. I think Goku is in a very, very good spot. And of the archetypes, spoilers, I think it is the best one in the set. So I'm putting him way, way up there. Next up, we do have our Piccolo. I'm just putting him in trash. I really want him to work. He does have some cool stuff. And I'm being probably a little bit too hard on him by putting him in trash. He's probably just deserves to be put in fun. But I'm putting him in trash because I wish the card design for him was a little bit better. It's so restrictive for no good reason. And I don't think him having like chains that made sense or like a little bit easier to go through would have been too difficult to ask for. And I think I'm just putting him trash just because he's more of, I feel like, a wasted opportunity for a really good Piccolo leader and the Mechian leader. And I think it's fine. It's a fine deck, but I want it to be better, which is why I put it in trash. Next up, we do have Toa, and I'll just for symmetries, I'll put it in playable. It's a really interesting archetype, and like Tokens got a little bit of a buff because we did lose Secret Identity, so I'll give it that. If Secret Identity, I would have put in fun. It probably still deserves to be in fun, but I do like the occasional kind of like black control list, being able to do some fancy things like tokens. You get a lot of value from, but if green's going to be in the meta more and Dormant Potential is going to be in the meta more, there's just so many tokens that are going to be popped, and like you just don't get any advantage for it. So I don't know. I think playable is a more than fair spot for it, and I do recommend people trying it out. It is a fun deck, but I do worry that there's too many ways for your opponent to kind of interact with it. Moving along for our kind of BT16 meta, we do have a couple lists or kind of leaders I want to talk about. King Piccolo hit probably one of the hardest nerfs. It's been nerfed, I guess, technically 3 times, right? Or like 4 times. It's lost. The drum is down to 1. The new ruler is down to 1. Piano is banned now, and then Piccolo Jr. is also down to 1. I'm just gonna put it at playable. I honestly, the only thing I think it's missing out on is the Unison. I think the Unison hit was the hardest hit for the deck because it needs a good turn 2 Unison, and without that, you miss out on a lot, especially since it's restrictive to a Unison with Rejuvenation, which, as far as I know, it's the only red Unison with that tech. So maybe if they make another Unison for it, that's a little less busted. But I am happy to see it kind of leave the meta, and yeah, it's been around for a long time, and I'm happy to see it do well. But yeah, it's time to go. I think it's playable. I think people will try to play it still. I don't think it's dead in the water, but man, yeah, that was a lot of hits for one deck. We also do have U7 Goku. I think this is probably one of, if not the best competitive deck in the format. It only lost Piccolo Jr. for people running that, which wasn't everybody, and I don't think there's any reason it's not going to do well moving forward. People love the deck, it does well, and there's a lot of. I mean, it's really linear. It's really linear, but the thing it does is fantastic, and if there's not a lot of interaction for it, so you're fine. So. And honestly, if this was a slightly older archetype, I think it would get hit on this ban list, and I'm highly expecting a card or two to get hit in this next ban list. But it's not there yet, so he's going to be at the top for a little bit. Next up, we do have the Soul Striker, and I think, oh man, it's probably still between competitive and playable. I'm going to put him down to playable just for the fact that I think the Awakening early was such a big boon for a lot of lists, especially. I mean, I don't understand I feel like the nerf would have just been better that you had to go down to X amount of life if you have a 3-drop Unison out like most other leaders, and unlike the red one, geez, that U7 Goku definitely needs that clause. But I think he's fine for what he is, and I think people will still play. It's still. So many of the reboot leaders have been hit. It's so silly, and I think I think he's still worth playing around with and trying. But it does kind of stink that he got nerfed, and he wasn't seeing a lot of play either, which kind of gets there. The Super Saiyan God Goku. I'm gonna be a little bold. I'm gonna put him up in competitive. Yeah, I'll put him in there. I think there's a better Blue Saiyan leader in the mix. Spoilers if you look a little bit to the south of your video. But I think he's slightly better than Goku now. He has more cycle. He does have less energy on tap, but I don't think that's as important as it used to be. And there's just a lot of plays you can do with it, especially early. There has been like the I would say cheesier Ultra Instinct, Kamehameha Goku build, which is super fun to see. But I think that's more cheesy than competitive. But I think this is slightly better for what you're doing for the leader. I could be wrong there. And I think their Soul Striker and it are still probably head and head to some of the better blue leaders that are going on. Next up, we do have Sin Shenron, and I will. Oh man, I'm gonna put it in competitive, though. I think it can probably be in highly competitive. The fact that it's been around for over 2 years now, and it's gotten technically one hit with the Cell Xeno, but I think people are going to be playing this forever, and it's such a good deck, and it's still going to top. It's probably like a little bit old to be put in highly competitive, but I don't think you should ever be surprised to be sitting across the Sin Shenron with the current meta and ban list. Next up for highly competitive, I'm gonna put Future Trunks and Future Trunks and Vegeta at highly competitive. I think it is slightly better than Sin Shenron of the two, but they're both very good. But I will say that I think that the Trunks gets a little bit more off the yellow tools than Sin Shenron. I could be wrong on that, but I do think any deck that any yellow deck that runs Unisons is in a very good spot right now. And I think it's slightly better of the two, but I think they're about neck and neck, kind of like how Soul Striker and the Super Saiyan God Goku are pretty similar. Next up, we do have Gogeta. I'm going to put him playable. It's he got hit by a lot. Some of it I was expecting, and some of it I was not. I think, and I'll just say it right now. If anyone wants to play a Gogeta deck, I think Trunks is kind of just the better way to go. Now, he has more of his core. He can do a lot of the stuff that the Gogeta was doing, and I think I think people should be probably moving over to Trunks if they like the playstyle of Gogeta. I mean, there's still plays for it, but when it comes to a Black Saiyan leader, I think Trunks is just better for that. Next up, we do have UI. I think it is competitive if you are a good player. This is probably one of the hardest decks in the game to master and pilot. I don't think the Aandroidd 17 nerf made the deck unplayable. I think it just put it on a more fair playing ground. I think the situation around it still stinks, but I think at 3, being able to, instead of every turn, like turn 2 to 6, being able to have Invoker on your leader for the rest of the turn, you instead, from turns, I guess, 3 on, you get that. So the only other thing is that you kind of, if you give, goes to your leader, which means that you don't have to, which means if you pay 3 and then you awaken, you lose the Invoker on your leader. So you have to pay 3 and then essentially have a Beerus or Dimension magic in hand to get the energy on tap. So that's fine. I think it makes it a little bit more awkward for you just to play your Aandroidd 17 and go, but I think that's kind of needed anyway, so it's fine. And we're gonna see this deck still. I think it's still gonna be on the prowl. But I will say it is still very, very tricky, and even though the deck is good, does not mean that you will be good with the deck. And those are the kind of standard stuff. I probably missed a leader or two, but let me know. And then my kind of picks for right now, and I'll put these in competitive. I'll put the Turtles. This is from the Saiyan Showdown. The fact that this leader starts with a Unison, that's a 16k, with essentially 3 markers, is fantastic. And I think it's just going to be a generically very good yellow leader. And so I'm putting it here. That is one of my picks for the meta. I also do think Starter Vegito is fantastic too. And I think it's still I think it's a better blue Saiyan leader. It does a lot of what Soul Striker kind of does. The fact that you get the untap and draw every turn if they pop your Unison or one of your blue battle cards, which is incredibly easy to do. I think it's in a good spot. It's more defensive, and I think it's more of like what Soul Striker was trying to do previously. But I think a lot of people should try this out if you are a blue player and you're kind of lost of where to go after the set. I was hoping that there'd be some better Empower Unisons for this archetype, and that didn't happen. If we had something like the Frieza or Gohan that yellow and green got, or sorry, green or yellow got, respectively, I think this would be higher up. And it's just the fact that we don't have a 3-drop Unison that with Empower that does crazy things is why I'm just putting it competitive. I think that's the only thing like this leader is missing to be fantastic. And then I'll put Xeno here. I think it is good for what it is. It is a good control deck, and if the Unisons are going to be doing as well as I think they will with all these great archetypes this set, with have so much focus on Unison, kind of more than we've seen before, I would expect this deck to do kind of well too with all of the interactions it can kind of do with Unison. So I think that's worth a try, and I'll probably be trying to play the deck myself. But here is the end of the tier list. I probably put too many things in competitive. If I was to weed this out a little bit, I will. This is probably it, but I'll move this up. I'll move this down, and yeah, Cooler could probably move up if of the two, but it's on the edge there. Yeah, maybe if I want more balance. There we go. This is not in order, obviously. Like this not. I don't think this is better than, or Toa is better than this at all. And if anything, that was probably better than Toa. But again, that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and discussion. Let me know what leaders I missed, what I'm totally off base on, and what you guys are looking forward to from BT17. And I'll catch you all next time.
Damn it.